We're showing live right now on YouTube.
Did you hear that, Ben?
Yep, we're just waiting for the go-ahead from our executive director.
All right, everyone, we're live now.
All right, good morning. My name is Ben Chandler. I'm the chairman of the Kentucky State Board of Elections, and I'd like to call this May 1st special meeting of the Board of Elections to order. And with that, I will identify everybody who's on the call. And if you all would like to say hello, that'd be great. It looks to me like we have a full complement of board members, and I'll start with in the order that I see you all on the screen. Of course, as you know, we're doing this remotely, as everybody can see, just like everybody else has been doing for the last couple of months. And we will try to get through this as best we can and hope we don't have too many technical difficulties. First member, George Russell.
Yes, sir. George Russell, Franklin County.
Very good. Sherry Whitehouse.
Sherry Whitehouse, member Bullitt County.
Excellent. Deanna Brangers.
Hi, Deanna Brangers, member Jefferson County.
Katrina Fitzgerald.
Hi, Katrina Fitzgerald, retired clerk.
Corey Skolnick.
Corey Skolnick, member Jefferson County.
Dwight Sears.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Chairman. Dwight Sears, member Pulaski County.
James Lewis.
Good morning, James Lewis, retired county clerk.
And Secretary Adams, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good to be here.
We also have with us members of the staff of the State Board of Elections, the Executive Director, Jared Deering, his Assistant Director, Karen Sellers, and General Counsel for the Board of Elections, Taylor Brown. In addition to the staff, we have the head of the Kentucky County Clerks Association, Renisa Abner, from the great county of Henderson. Good to have you, Renisa.
Thank you.
All right, we hopefully have a short agenda today, and that agenda largely consists of determining how the election, the primary election here in Kentucky, will be conducted on June 23rd. As you all are aware, the governor and the secretary, based on the emergency that we've got with the coronavirus, and based on their concern that for the safety of both the poll workers, the administrators of the election, and the voters, moved the election to June 23rd. We are now faced with the question of how to conduct that election, the manner in which the election will be conducted. The State Board of Elections is charged with putting together the manner in which the election will take place. We have a regulation that we hope to vote on here in a moment to try to get that done. But suffice it to say that our goals are twofold. Number one, we want to make sure that every citizen of this state has access to the ballot, that everybody is able to vote and hopefully vote rather easily. The second goal is to ensure the safety of all of our people. One of the main problems that we've had right along is the virtual impossibility of getting poll workers. Many of our poll workers are older and vulnerable to the coronavirus. We don't want to put them in any jeopardy. We have 120 county clerks and their staff throughout the state who we also want to protect and keep well. And we've got the voters throughout the Commonwealth whose safety we also want to assure. So we have put together an effort to try to make sure that we accomplish those goals. And at this point, I will turn it over to our Executive Director, Jared Deering, to give us a summary of what the proposed regulation will do. Jared.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate it. Good morning. Thanks for everyone for being here. So let me start by saying I'll give a brief summary of kind of what the main outline and focus of the admin regs are. And then what I'll do is I'll give a summary of the timetable or timeline for the election itself, because I think the dates themselves are fairly important. We'll get through that right now. So one, let me start by saying that all voters will receive a postcard. So all eligible voters will receive a postcard that will explain how they can vote. Specifically, will outline very clear and easy steps for voters to be able to log on to a portal provided by the State Board of Elections to apply for an absentee ballot, and how to receive that ballot and place it back in the mail back to the county clerk's office. That portal will be up and running in the next several weeks. One of the things that we definitively want to say with this is that we are asking voters to to support their county clerks. And one way we're asking that is by giving them a little patience and your support, and making sure that they have the time frame and the ability to scale these processes up as we move forward. So all voters will be eligible to cast an absentee ballot because of the COVID-19 medical excuse clause. Clerks are directed to decrease the number of their polling locations. We're requesting that clerks have at minimum one polling location for in-person early voting and election day operations for in-person voting by appointment. We are going to be also offering county clerk support with staff. We will be asking the board for a vote in a couple of minutes here after we've completed the admin regs to approve return mail. County clerks will also have the ability to request an absentee ballot box delivery system so that they can place that inside the county courthouse or county clerk's office for voters to be able to drop those off. Voters will be required to have, if they place their ballot back in the mail to the county clerk's office, they'll be required to have a postmark of June 23rd, which is election day. But the county clerks will have until the 27th to be able to receive those from USPS. That is kind of the main structure of the election itself, but let me go over some dates that might shed a little light on kind of what the kind of timetable and schedule looks like for the election itself. On May 22nd or sooner, if available, the State Board of Elections shall establish a secure online portal that will allow voters to request an absentee ballot through the submission of personally identifiable information. On May 22nd or sooner, if available, the State Board will send a non-forwarding postcard to every eligible registered voter in the Commonwealth to inform them of the changes to the election on June 23rd. On June 22nd, clerk's offices and phone lines, starting now, after the regs have been passed by the board and approved by the governor and the secretary, up until June 22nd, clerk's offices and will have phone lines available to schedule in-person absentee appointments. Starting now through June 23rd, clerk's offices and phone lines will be made available to schedule in-person election day appointments. Starting now to June 23rd, a window for voters to return ballot to county clerk's office or other approved location. On May 15th, the deadline for county clerks or county boards of elections to appoint elections officials for polling locations. And again, we are directing clerks to decrease the number of polling locations in their county. At minimum, they must have one for in-person voting by appointment. On June 1st is the deadline for county boards of elections to appoint a ballot processing committee to help them with the processing of ballots coming in and going out and tabulating as they come back. On June 1st, my apologies, I skipped one. No later than June 8th, 2020, up to June 22nd, 2020, at least 5 days a week, starting 2 weeks before June 23rd, the clerk's offices are open for in-person absentee voting by appointment. And again, if it is the clerk's office or a location designated by the clerk, it doesn't have to be specified. as long as the counties are notifying the State Board of Elections of where that location will be. So we're not definitively saying it will be in the clerk's offices. There is some flexibility here for the county boards of elections to determine where those sites will be located, as long as they notify the State Board of Elections, so that we can notify voters as well. June 1st through June 30th is the window for absentee ballot processing committees to meet and tabulate votes. On June 15th, there's the deadline for voters to request through the State Board of Elections portal that an absentee ballot be mailed to their county clerk, or mailed from their county clerk, rather. We are still going to have the ability for county clerks to be able to release absentee ballots after that deadline. That the specific June 15th deadline is only so that voters have the ability to go online on the portal and request an absentee ballot be mailed to their residents with enough time to be able to put that back in the mail or deliver it back to the clerk's office. However, clerks still will have the opportunity to, at their discretion, at the county board's discretion, do drive up or curbside pickup of absentee ballots. Again, we're working towards a goal here of minimizing the amount of through traffic in the clerk's office. And that will be one way that last week that voters will still be able to obtain a absentee ballot. On June 16th is the deadline for clerks to mail a ballot out to voters who have requested one. On June 22nd is the in-person absentee results to be tabulated at the end of business. On June 23rd is postmark deadline for mail-in absentee ballots. Again, what we're telling voters now is that as long as they place their absentee ballot in the mail by June 23rd at the end of election day, and it has a postmark by USPS of June 23, the clerks will be able to tabulate and count those if it arrives after election day. On June 27th is the deadline for those mailed absentee ballots to arrive in the county clerk's office. So we're requesting that county clerks can then have a deadline to say, if something has a postmark of June 23rd, now is the time frame when they have to stop taking those on the Saturday following the election, so that they can begin the completion of tabulation processes. On June 29th is the deadline for signature cures. So for all ballots where the signature did not match the voter's known signature or signature of record, the clerks will be notifying those voters to make a signature cure to provide further information and identification of that signature and that voter to verify that ballot will be counted. And the voter has until June 29th to make that cure. On June 30th is the deadline to transmit vote totals to the State Board of Elections, or sorry, the Secretary of State's office through the SBE 49 form. On July 7th is the filing deadline for recanvassing. And that recanvassing filing deadline is both for all races that are to be held on June 23rd, including the special election in the 26th. On July 21st through 31st is the public hearing window for the admin regs that will be sent to obviously the Secretary of State and the governor's office, and then ultimately back to LRC. And July 31st is the deadline for State Board of Elections to mail to inactive voters a request to have, if they've moved out of state, if they would like us to be self-identify as no longer registered voters in the state, we'll be mailing a mailer out for that. And July 31st is the deadline for public comment. I think it's important to also notice that all of the statutes and regulations that are being changed today apply only to this election and this election only. And that after this election, we will be reverting back to all previous election statutes and laws.
All right, thank you very much, Jared, for that summary. We have been working on this. We have had a work group working with the Secretary of State, the county clerks, several members of the Board of Elections. In fact, all members of the Board of Elections have been very much involved in this effort throughout the last several weeks. We've been working closely with the governor's office, a great deal of work has gone into this. As you just heard, there are a lot of intricacies in this, a lot of information to understand, but everybody here on the board has had a copy of the regulations and hopefully has reviewed that copy. Once we finish today, of course, we will make the regulation, language in the regulation, and a summary of that regulation available to the press and the public so everybody can understand exactly what's going to happen in this election. And with that, I would entertain a motion on the reg.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we pass the proposed regulations to govern the June 23rd, 2020 elections.
Thank you, Member Brangers, for that. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, this is George Russell. I second the motion.
George, thank you for that second. And now, do we have any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
James Lewis. I have some points of clarity. I think that we need to make sure that not only clerks, but the public understand about this particular reg, because there is quite a bit of confusion. And section 4, is appointment a mandatory for absentee and election day voting, or can anyone who shows up be allowed to vote by this method on election day or absentee?
I'm happy to address that if I could. Just for context, I was the primary drafter of the agreement between the governor and me as to the manner for the election, and a primary drafter also of the regulation. You'll see a lot of similar wording between the draft regulation and the agreement between the governor and me. We were very, very careful in our word choices. The wording at issue is, for example, it's in here more than once. Voters are advised to make an appointment with their county clerk. That's our position. Certainly, I don't think legally or morally we could ever turn a voter away from the polls who's lawfully entitled to vote for not having an appointment. But the goal here is to strongly encourage people to make appointments so that we can lengthen the spaces between voters and ensure that we have social distancing. So we're not going to deny anyone their constitutional rights, but just simply to make sure that we have a successful election, we're going to strongly encourage people to vote by absentee ballot or to make an appointment if they must vote in person.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I understood that, but most of the language being put out is there's not a lot of mention of we're recommending, but I think that needs to go on the record here. And section 5, another point of clarity, I think, especially for county clerks and for the voters. No written request for an application or no written application is actually produced. Is that the way I understand section 5? In other words, the voter will not have to sign an application. They simply have to identify themselves sufficiently, and what would be the methods of identification that the state board would use and county clerks would be able to use.
If I could, Chairman.
Please.
So the portal, the way the portal will work is an individual voter will log into the portal. They can find that at govoteky.com. Again, this portal will be live in the next several weeks. The postcard notification that will go out will also coincide with the portal going live. The way the voter interacts with that portal is that they will log in using their social security number and their date of birth. We'll ask them for other information, including their driver's license, email, and cell phone number, which are not required. However, we are requiring the social and date of birth to verify the voter's identity. They will clarify their information is correct. That information will then get placed into the voter registration system and sent to the county clerk as a work tab. The county clerk will then be able to pull that up in their own office. And now that application has been automated for the county clerk. So they will not have to hand enter in anything. They won't have to mail the voter anything back. The portal will serve as the application itself, at which point the clerk will then be able to pull that up and send a packet for the absentee envelopes with the ballot and instructions to the voter at that point.
Okay, Jared, when they apply through the clerk's office, will the signed application be required because it is part of the normal process?
They're signing online. There'll be a digital, so the
No,
same process.
I'm not talking, I said when they apply to the clerk's office directly, is
I
the
guess
written application required because that's the normal process?
So
currently.
yeah, again, that we're changing the normal process of the voter having to be mailed an application, sign that paper application, mail that back for the clerk to then hand enter and then start the process of the ballot, absentee ballot process. The application itself will allow for a digital signature or for the individual to use their driver's license as their signature on the application itself. Then the application is sent. In the interim, we are making available to the clerks the 44A form, which I will bring. I think I sent you a copy of that yesterday. And then they will still have access to a paper copy if they choose to use so at the county clerk's office. But we're recommending that they use the portal because the portal will allow the state both to track the ballots in, out, and received, as well as allow us to aid the clerks in providing barcodes on the envelopes so that they can also track them internally.
Okay, so the county clerk's office will be able to accept the driver's license or the same information the portal accepts in lieu of a signed application. Is that what you're telling me?
Correct.
Okay, good. Okay. I noticed the processing committee, the appointment says, one Republican, one Democrat, and use independents. It doesn't mention other groups like libertarians, so forth. Those would be eligible, correct, to serve as on the
registered
committee?
voters of that county, yes.
Pardon?
As long as they're a registered voter of that county, they would be eligible under
Yeah,
the.
okay, that's what I thought. Seemed to limit it by the language there. And I wanted to make sure that everyone understood that.
Yes.
Okay. Will deputies clerks be allowed to be appointed on these committees?
As long as
these
they are
people are-
registered voters of the county.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, the signature cure. That is, if I understood and I think I did correctly, if a signature is rejected by the county committee, then this voter has until the 29th to correct that or provide proof that in
That's
fact is their signature.
Correct, yes.
Okay. In section 7, I'm gonna go back to that just a moment, sure. Will the machines read the November 19 or May 19 ballots that's already been voted?
Yes,
And I wonder that because I'm not sure if the code, the election date is part of the code that the machines use to read
is.
these ballots.
it is, yes. And
Pardon?
it is, yes. When the vendors code those, it's the whole entire ballot face is accepted into the coding. So that's part of the reason why I believe the board, that was part of the discussion in the past, in the last meeting, and then through the work group as well. So we've also notified the vendors and the voter, or the vendors and the clerks that will be utilizing the same ballot face that were printed for the May 19th election, so that it'll save the Commonwealth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have a problem on election day with machines refusing to accept those ballots because of programming.
Nope.
You're saying the absentee ballots by the county committees must be tabulated on the 22nd, is that correct?
I think that's what we're stating there is that the in-person early absentee voting will then stop because the next day is now election day. And then the full tabulation will take place at the close of polls on 23rd.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you.
All right, do we have any other, thank you, James. Do we have any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do
Aye.
we have anybody who is opposed? Excellent. The regulation passes unanimously, and we will go on to the next item of business, and that is, Jared, if you'd like to explain what you need to do relative to you being allowed to both pay for the postage for this undertaking and provide help to the county clerks.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Chairman. So I have a couple things of business for the board to vote on. One, we will be changing the 44A form. That is a form internal to the State Board of Elections and the voter registration system for county clerks to pull up on their systems that allows for them to fill out an absentee form application for the voters. One, we're utilizing that for the portal itself to continue to have the same flow within the portal itself of the system that currently has. But what we're also going to need is to change that form now so that the clerks will have some ability to process applications on paper until the portal is ready in the next several weeks. Again, I can't stress this enough. We're asking that voters have patience with the process. This is a system that we're scaling up right now. We will have the portal ready again by May 22nd, if not sooner. The application or the postcards will also go out by May 22nd, if not sooner. In the interim, we need a process to allow the clerks to be able to utilize to send out to voters and make sure that they have something internally office. So we will need to change the form. The only thing we're changing on the form is adding a line that states medical excuse COVID-19. Once this election is over, we'll remove that line off of that form and revert back to the form as it currently is now. So I'll need a vote on that.
All right. Do I have a motion to vote to change the form as indicated by Mr. Deering?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Brangers. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Member Sears. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? The motion passes. Mr. Deering, do you have another matter?
Yeah. Two more items. One, we are requesting that we can utilize HAVA dollars through the CARES Act in roughly the amount of $1 million to $1.2 million for return postage. We have, I know Member Russell will probably have questions about this, but we've run our numbers in the budget. If we include the money we've already spent, plus the potentially 1 million to 1.2 million, potentially more depending on turnout, we will be able to afford to have return postage, plus the next item that I'll bring to the board's attention as well.
So do you need a separate motion to pay for return postage for all the voters?
Yes.
What this means is that voters, when they get their ballot, they will not have to apply postage themselves, pay for postage themselves. It will be prepaid.
That is correct. Yes.
All right. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion from Member Whitehouse. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Member Brangers. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Deering. And what is your last matter?
Thank you, Chairman. So one of the things that we want to be able to address, again, this is a system of voting that is new to the state. It's new to the clerks, and the clerks have budgeted staff, and the fiscal courts have budgeted the county clerk's offices to be able to maintain the election system as it currently stands. So my request is that the state board allot roughly $1 million to $1.1 million which will allow me the ability to give the clerks the ability to hire 4 staff members for 4 weeks. They will be able to hire them at their discretion. They can utilize these staff members for anything that is elections related in their offices, including, but not limited to, the processing committee. They can have them, some clerks have notified me that they want to do curbside pickup or drive-through voting if available. And to be able to utilize that, they'll need extra staff. At the bare minimum, I'm concerned that some of our smaller counties, which have very limited staffing in general, will not be able to handle the process bottlenecks that come in, specifically the 15th, the last day to apply for a mail ballot to be delivered to the voter by mail. If the board sees fit, we will be able to afford both the ability to provide the clerks that resource and make sure that we have the board has the knowledge that the clerks have the staff to accomplish this task. Again, this does not limit the clerks to utilizing any other staff members. It's just adding an extra resource, especially to some of the counties that need desperate help for staffing.
Thank you. This is a concern that the board has, of course, that this is an election unlike any that we've ever had in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It's going to be very difficult for all 120 county clerks to run this election smoothly. It's not going to be easy. They've never done it before, and we want to give them as much assistance as we possibly can. So that's the idea here. I will, at this point, accept a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, George.
We've got a motion from Member Russell.
I'll
Is a second from Member Sears. Thank you very much. Is there any discussion on this subject?
yes. One of the reasons this is needed in certain counties, the county clerk is the only person that works with elections. He needs this additional staff, or she.
Even in medium-sized counties. So I've spoken to a good number of clerks, both from large counties, medium counties, and small counties. The one thing that was continued to be reiterated by them is the need for extra staff. I think a lot of the clerks are concerned of what happens in their own offices if they have COVID-19 in their own offices, and what happens, and being able to have outside resources to be able to utilize. Many of the clerks want to be able to set up satellite offices to be able to do their elections in person, so that way they don't have voters coming into their offices and dealing with their other deputies that are engaging in other responsibilities that the clerks have. Again, I think it's important to understand that clerks have 128 different responsibilities other than elections. And so every opportunity we can to give them some extra staff to be able to fulfill the requirements that we're now giving to them will guarantee back to the board that they'll be able to be successful.
Very good. Renisa Abner, would you like to say anything on this subject on behalf of the clerks?
Yes, I would, in particular, I'm very happy about the assistance that you are offering us for paying for these added procedures, and specifically for the equipping us with extra staff. That may make all the difference. As stated previously, for the counties who only operate, I know there's one county who it's just the clerk and one other person in the office. So this will be crucial, and it's very much appreciated, this help to carry out these new regulations. And thanks for all your work and all your efforts. I know it's been a hard thing for all of us, and we will do it. We just all have to be on the same page with messaging as far as how important it is for the public to work with us to be successful, to make this election happen safely, and for the best for everyone. So,
well, thank you. Thank you very much, Renisa, for those comments. And certainly, I know that the board, every member of the board, wants very much to see that the county clerks throughout this state are successful. We know how hard you all work. This is incredibly important to you, to have a successful election and to all of us. So we'll move in that direction. Does anybody else want to make any comment on this subject? Hearing none, I will ask for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Do we have anyone who's opposed? Very good. The motion passes unanimously. With that, I want to take this opportunity to thank all of the members of the board for all of the time that you put in to this, all the hard work. I want to thank also the county clerks again in this Commonwealth who've really got the laboring oar here. You all are going to have to deal with this in each and every county throughout the Commonwealth, and we appreciate your willingness to do so, and we stand ready to help. The information included here that's included in both the reg, and we have a summary of the reg. All of that information will be available to the press and to the public. I believe that we will also make sure that it is contained on our website, and the State Board of Election staff will be available from now until after the election to answer any question that anybody might have, any clerks might have, any member of the press might have, any voter might have, to try to ensure that we have a successful election. And with that, unless anybody else wants to add anything, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Chairman, can I add a couple quick points?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Secretary.
Thank you. So I know the press are watching. I know members of the public are watching. And so I want to take advantage of this opportunity to make 3 really quick points. Number one, if your voter registration information is not up to date, please go now to govotekentucky.com, govoteky.com, and update that information. We're going to be sending these postcards out in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And if you're not, if your information is wrong, then you may not get the postcard, you may not get the instructions, you may not get the link to the portal to be able to get your absentee ballot. So it's really critical that you get your information updated. If you go to govoteky.com, there's a button you can click on that says update your information. And then that would help you and certainly help us as well. Second point is I want to note that this was everything done today, everything done previously with regard to this planning of this election for June 23rd has been done in a bipartisan fashion, in a unanimous fashion by this board. I'll tell you, I'm on the receiving end of a lot of criticism, especially by Republicans about what we're doing. But the Republicans on this board, the Republican county clerks, all seem to be in agreement unanimously that this is necessary. We're trying to ensure that we both protect people, protect lives, save lives, and also ensure that no one's disenfranchised. I think we've done a great job of that. A final point, something that we have in this regulation I want to highlight is, I know a lot of people, again, maybe more so Republicans, but not just Republicans, are dubious of voting by mail. This is not a vote by mail system as you see on the West Coast. It's a more centrist or right-leaning version, expanded absentee balloting. But regardless, a lot of voters have a lack of confidence in the mail service, or just for whatever reason, don't like that approach. You can still vote by absentee ballot without relying on the USPS. We've made it possible in this regulation for those voters to be able to vote in person by dropping off their ballot at the county clerk's office prior to the election. We've made it possible in this regulation for the State Board of Elections to purchase secure drop boxes for placement in our county courthouses, our clerk's offices, so that voters can personally drop off those ballots. Obviously, we want to avoid crowding, so mail is better. But again, this is not about taking anyone's rights away. We've not done that. We've just tried to accommodate the situation, ensure that there are more options available for people to be able to cast their ballot.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank all of you for the hard work that you put in. Particular kudos to the hardworking staff at the Board of Elections led by Mr. Deering. Thank you for all of the work that you guys have put in. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Wait a minute. Do we need to confirm our next meeting?
Well, we're having a meeting, our regularly scheduled meeting, I think, in May. What day is that, Jared?
I believe the 19th.
19th.
May the 19th? All right, very good. And if there's anything that needs to happen, of course, if we've got anything that we need to fix, anything we need to change to make it work better, we can either have an emergency meeting between now and then, or we can deal with it on the 19th of May. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Member Brangers. Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
All in favor, Member Skolnick, thank you very much. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all very much and have
Thanks,
a
everyone.
lovely rest of your day.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.